All right, welcome to the CrossFit Grandview podcast. We're right now in Arnold week, so it's the first week of March. It's today, March 2nd? First? Okay.
I think it's the second, yeah.
Third.
Oh, geez. Yep, the
March 3rd. So we're just getting into March. I just finished the last open workout a couple minutes ago, and so my brain's kind of foggy. That one moves fast. It's a sprint workout, and so I've completed all three of the open workouts. And what I'll say about this year, what I really liked is I love the skill aspect of the open workouts and how it really gives everyone something to work towards. And everyone can work in these workouts up to a certain point. So everyone's getting a workout, and I've heard, some people have objections like, hey, this is just the open. It should be, lower skill set. And in certain years, you'll have maybe the first workout or two, like last year, the first two workouts were pretty straightforward. Almost anyone could do them. But if you have a short memory, that's what you're going to think. If you have a longer memory, we've had workouts, the first one having, snatches going all the way up to 210 pounds, on the first open workout. On the second open workout one year, it started off with ring muscle ups. 2 years ago, we had an open WOD that had, it opened up with Diane, which was 21-15-9 deadlift handstand push-up. Then it went to 315 and handstand walking. These are open workouts. So what you can't expect every year is you're going to run into some challenging skills. And if you want to perform well at it, and this hit me, this is the first year I haven't really trained for it. I'm just kind of jumping in and seeing where my fitness is at. When you're not prepared, it shows you, for certain movements. And I certainly wasn't. I haven't done handstand push-ups in a while. And on those strict, my stamina was not good. And, after the wall walks and the snatches, like my shoulders lit up on me quick, and I got hung up on those at the end. But it was a good spot where in years past, and I laid it all out there. I just didn't do the work. I put the open extra credit at the end of the workouts for the all levels, and I nailed it. Like if you were doing that stuff, you were touching kipping and strict handstand push-ups once or twice a week for about the last 10 weeks. So if you had got there, you're going to hit that. Same thing with pull-ups, toes to bar, and muscle ups. So I put that work in there each week. So if that's something that you want to perform well on and some of those skills weren't there, look at that open extra credit. And if you're too tired after workouts, which was my excuse oftentimes, I just wanted to get the workout in, do it before. Do it before the workout and then do the workout, and prioritize those skills because you're going to run into them when you do the open. And if you have those skills, it buys you into deeper and deeper parts of it. And we have to remember that the open is a qualifier for people getting into the CrossFit Games and the next layers of it. And they need to test those skills. These are people who are, training all year round for this, practicing these skills. You can't get mad at them for having these skills, when it comes down to it.
Well, I think another thing to really remember is that growth doesn't happen unless you're uncomfortable. So do I like 95-pound snatches? No. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do one, but it's going to make me uncomfortable. So then I have to make a decision. Do I not want to do this next year, or do I want to focus on what I'm not good at for a longer period of time than 6 weeks and build that strength? And I think it's important to remember that, like, unless you're uncomfortable, you probably won't grow and change. And, I was texting back and forth with one of our members, and she was like talking about how she gets a lot of anxiety. And I'm like, hey, me too. But I remember back to the days of Lifetime where I was just, kind of going in there and moving my body around, and that was fine, but I was bored and it was kind of pointless. Mm-hmm. And I would kind of have some different focuses, but I think it's good to have, to be tested and to have to come out of those tests feeling a certain way, so you want to improve. And I think it's good to feel that, like, hey, these are some glaring weaknesses that I have. I'm going to spend this next year and be focused on improving those.
Yep. I just listened to a podcast this week. You know, we have like a 1 mile drive here to work, so it takes me a while to get through like a 45-minute podcast. But it was about like kicking ass into your 90s and elite aging, and a lot of that is consistently finding flow. It was actually a really impactful podcast that got me thinking, and a couple of things that the guy was talking about. So he's a skier, and in order to find flow as an adult and as you age, something that's really important is working out. So staying physically active, but in a way that it's challenging. It has like a social aspect. Basically, like to age elitely and find flow in life, there was all these things and these factors. That's like 12 of them. I can't remember what they are, but finding a sport, CrossFit actually takes care of like almost all of these factors. It's like it has a social aspect, you know, getting your legs strong, like a coordination, a balance aspect, all of these things. But to find flow, you need to find a activity or skill that is physically challenging, but also challenges like your creativity and has a social aspect, which CrossFit has all of those, and has skills that you can consistently work towards and engages your mind. Where I can really think of 2 different spots in the last 2 years where I found a really good flow and rhythm, and you can probably attest to it just through being around me, was about a year and a half ago, I did a 12-week run, and I hadn't done it in a while. I had just done just general CrossFit classes in Power Hour. So I got basically into powerlifting for 12 weeks. And the movements and the things I was doing in there were novel. They were new moves. I brought some buddies over from CrossFit into the Power Hour class with me, and we all started doing it, and our strength started ticking up. And so you're seeing this progress. And then socially, we were kind of hanging out and texting each other, shooting videos on each other, doing the workouts and stuff. And at the end, I hit like a big lifetime goal. I wanted to hit a 500-pound deadlift, and I achieved that goal. It made me feel really good. And I found a great flow during that 12-week period. Fast forward, not too long after that, I got back into boxing. And that was, again, like another, hey. No, just tell them I'm shooting a podcast. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Tell them I'll be out in a few minutes. Okay. Yeah. Yep. We've got some visitors. The Buttery Bros are here. Got some celebs here.
Is everything okay?
Yeah. I should
Did
tell
someone
her.
have a heart attack?
I should tell her to bring them in
No,
here.
it's the Buttery Bros.
The podcast.
Everybody on high alert.
No, so then I did the boxing. It was very similar in the way that I jumped into a new novel sport. I had friends and buddies. There was like some connection socially with these guys that I was training with. And then I was learning a new skill up to like an intermediate level. So whether it was like the powerlifting or this boxing, it was similar levels I got to, like this kind of intermediate level where I feel like it's the low hanging fruit, where most of that good stuff comes from for your body. To take it to the next level, then that's where, you know, progress really slows. You'll lose some flow state. Now it goes from like a 6-month project or a 3-month project to go to that next level. That's like a 3-year thing. Now you're like really stepping up competition. In the podcast, this guy, he had done it with the style of skiing that was like with tricks and jumps. And he was in his 50s, like something that no one does. So he was like, I had this list of 12 tricks, and it was to get to this intermediate level of skiing. And he thought it was going to take him 3 years, and it took 3 months. But he had this good flow, and he was talking about that. It was really neat. And I got to think back on these last 3 things. CrossFit and the Open is a great way for people like to get out of maybe the normal routine of like, it's not maybe good to work on and hammer, handstand push-ups and muscle ups all year round, but few months out to like work on these novel skills, try and handstand walk, try to like hit double unders, work on getting those skills and working on those, you're going to start to feel really good about the progress you're making, and working towards that goal. And where I kind of wanted to go with this is after you have hit that goal, then what do you do then? How do you pivot? And that's where I think this past year, if I screwed up in my training, I just kind of I didn't take a path that like let me calm down. I just went like, I need to get in and keep in shape for our retreat. So I went right into the boxing match, into like hard CrossFit, and I just started to get flat. Whereas like, I think going back to that power hour, something that slows down and it's a very different contrast and feel and mentally changes the game for me. And it's not, so boxing's fast and explosive in a really different way than CrossFit, but it's got a similar feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where like the powerlifting slows things down, lets you calm down, and
you're also not competing in powerlifting. So I think that's a big,
Yep.
I think to be able to do things for periods of time where you're trying to get better, but you're not competing. And there's a difference. There's a difference between like just getting better for yourself or having that nervous energy of trying to compete with other people, which I think all are healthy. It's just, you can't do that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Finding a new skill or thing. I really, with the way we've set the gym up, I really encourage people to try different things like our power hour class, like the Olympic weightlifting or the skills class we run on Sundays, or even taking a break here and there, diving into the other side of the room, executing like a strength program that it has a specific goal that you've always wanted to get, whether it's a lift or something. I think those are all cool things. Or to sign up for a race, an event, something that pushes your comfort zone. It doesn't need to push your comfort zone 100%, but something that pushes it just out far enough that it's going to stretch you just out of where you have to overreach a little bit. And that's where we grow each time. And that's what keeps us in a flow when we're giving ourselves that 5% challenge every day. That's where we continue to grow. And when you do that, you really do find this flow in life. And that podcast I listened to put it together, and it made me think back to all these times where I'm like, man, that's where I was. I really found a flow there. I had taken a year or two off at one point of doing like the open and some like competitive CrossFit, and did jujitsu, and I felt it then, where I was like, man, every day I feel like I'm learning a new skill and I'm getting good at something. So, I think it's just to encourage people after, say, something like the open where we don't have any CrossFit events or anything, coming and doing, our summer shred where you're going to work on your running and then participate in a 5K. If that's something that's out of your comfort zone, racing a 5K, that's a great challenge and something to get better at and to like learn how to hurt in your body systems and things like that.
But I think the biggest, this is just what I see from like, if I just want to make a general statement about like the public and finding that flow state, I think we're not honest with ourselves about where we're at. So we either don't know, we're afraid to know, or not being honest with ourselves. So if I'm going to do a 5K and I'm going to try to make goals, I'm not just going to say, hey, I'm going to break a 20-minute 5K this year in summer shred. I'm going to go run the 5K. And if 23 minutes feels really hard for me, I'll be like, hey, that's where I'm at right now. If I do a lot of sprint work, do some strength work, because that's always where it's at for me, not the endurance stuff. That's where I get faster. I can maybe get this down. I would love to break 22 minutes. That's a very realistic goal. That's stretching 5%.
7-minute miles, yeah.
But I can't go out, run a 23-minute 5K and expect to break 20 minutes. It may happen magically, but I feel like that's where people, they kind of get...
In 6 weeks, that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, so you have to test yourself to begin with, and then see where you're at and make those goals, set those goals based on where you're at. And I think we might shy away from testing. We don't want to know, or we don't feel like it's necessary. But I think there's always I don't really want to know where I'm at. I'm just going to kind of ignore that and focus on this thing that I want. You got to kind of see where you're at, whatever goal it is. With CrossFit, if I, never do handstand push-ups, I can't expect to go get one. If I never snatch, I can't expect to snatch heavy weight. So I think it's really at first like understanding where you're at, and then from there setting those goals to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's I'll get into phases too. We're getting older and we have a lot of stuff going on with managing and running a business. Our family now, like we have activities with the kids, have stuff every day after work. We're running around. We have a lot of responsibilities, and it's easy to fall into that trap of no goals, no aspirations, no challenges. I just want to stay fit and healthy. That's great. And I think there's definitely times where we need to cruise on that. And hey, I'm getting workouts in. I'm just getting in here is the challenge. But I think once you hit that and you're in a rhythm and routine of that, we need to find, it doesn't need to be huge, but small novel challenges that can even be, getting better at a movement at CrossFit. Like I want to get kipping pull-ups. I want to learn how to climb a rope, and I'm going to take some extra time to do that. And working through some of those conundrums and challenges that we'll face in the gym, and that can help create, again, that flow state. And it gives you something to talk about with people. It gives you something to like work towards with people.
It helps you grow, and it just helps you be more engaged in what you're doing. And it kind of just going back to like the lifetime analogy, and that's fine. We have a barbell side of the gym to do old school workouts, and I have those days where I go do that. But then what it becomes is just looking in the mirror yourself, and then the goal is always to just probably fine tune your body, and that gets a little empty after a while. That you're looking at yourself under a magnifying glass physically, and you can't really do that for too long without.
That can be a good goal at certain times.
Right. But
like,
I'm just
hey,
saying
I'm getting ready for a trip.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we do that. And I just think that it needs to change. And I think that's a lot of where, these talks come from. Like, well, whatever you're doing, you need to go through seasons. That even being CrossFit competing, you need to go through seasons. If you try to do that all the time, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get burn out, and then you're just going to quit. So
it's a recipe for mental illness.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Do it for a period of time,
Sure.
and then transition, even if it's, just into like barbell power hours, or to transition. Your focus is very important, and it keeps you growing and keeps you moving, and it also helps your body. And I think like we always, and we talk about that a lot here on the podcast, but we always think that it's separate, like our mind and our body. Like, okay, I'm just getting mentally burnt out. Your body's getting burnt out too. It's getting burnt out of the same movements, even how you're stimulating your nervous system. Like you need to kind of calm that down, where powerlifting will do that. Olympic weight training can also just fatigue your nervous system. So it's really important to like let your body kind of settle down, let your mind settle down, and then when it feels right, make that challenge again.
I do like to keep going back to that power hour switch. It's one that I really like, one that I'm going to do starting Monday. I think you were going to do it as well. And I've seen like Jamie Dow is a member here. She's had great results recently. She takes my noon class a lot, but then she was doing some power hour, came in a day we did like a heavy clean and snatch, PR'd both lifts. She's in her 40s. She's a mom. She's been here for 5 years. To see someone hitting PRs and doing those things, as we're aging, by just switching up her game a little bit, doing that, coming back, and then being able to do that, is just a really good example of what we're trying to create here and how it works. So it's a way to keep us involved. Like, hey, I'm going to go try this for a little while. Then I'm going to come in and apply it to these CrossFit workouts. And it keeps it fun and engaging. I've had great runs where I've done nothing but CrossFit for 2.5, 3 years, 5 days a week, almost straight through. But there's like a spot where I'll usually start to actually go downhill a little bit. And that's when it's good to switch.
But you did have injury in there where you had to take time off.
Yeah, I mean, sure. But
I'm just saying, yeah, it is rare for someone to go straight through without bumping into some sort of injury, some sort of break that brings you back, where you were forced to take, how much time did you have to take off when you hurt your back?
When?
Like 2000.
You're talking about like 12 years ago?
Yeah.
3 months. Yeah. But that was like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think that what we do is we kind of forget about those times and we're like, wow, I've been doing this consistently. And I'll have, the reason why I'm bringing this up too, is I'll have clients say, well, during these years, I was able to run marathons for 5 years. I'm like, okay, you weren't out in any sort of injury. No injury hit you where you took 3 months where you had to rehab plantar fasciitis or some sort of Achilles injury.
No, I get what you're saying.
And it's like, well, that's not related. And it always is.
Sure.
No,
and the thing is what I want people to think about too is start to use your intuition, which I've kind of battled through for one reason or another this past year. Like I'll start to get beat up, banged up, tired, and you've done a good job. Like you'll utilize that the barbell side on some days where like, man, I'm banged up. I probably shouldn't do this, and I've just fought through it, and it's caused me some problems. Little back tweak I got twice. Just stuff where it was like, that would have been a good day to pull back a little bit. And it caused me some issues where I think using your intuition and then being more strategic throughout the year as far as like, hey, I always feel really good. Like me personally, I feel great when I do a run, a power hour. I'll do those. I'll pulse them between 6 and 12 weeks at a time. Like this one in the spring, I'll probably do 6 weeks and then start doing our running stuff and things like that. In the fall, ideally, I love to do like 8 to 12, really get strong, but I will maintain that strength and feel stronger for 6 months after that and build muscle. I feel so freaking good. And I perform so much better in CrossFit. I throw the weight around. I don't get hurt as much because my body is really strong. My hamstrings are strong. My shoulders feel good. So for me, that's a really good rhythm. And when I don't listen to that because I'm trying to keep this like higher end, like CrossFit, or I want to keep my abs going all the time, it's inevitably when I always run into issues. Yeah. So it's good to like use that when it stops working the way it's supposed to, back off, find another pivot or another novel activity like a running race, a thing to. You don't have to be a competitive athlete, just a goal or a challenge. A great example, one that we all did that was a goal and a challenge, was hiking that Pikes Peak. Yeah. That was awesome.
I really enjoyed that. And it was something just
totally different, super challenging. One of the harder things I've done physically. It was really tough. Doing Power Hour was not maybe my best prep for that one.
Mike got you through that.
Yeah, Mike helped drag me up the mountain here. He was like, I had
big props to Mike.
I know. I was doing individual design with Mike, and he's doing like incline treadmill walks with like a weight vest for an hour and a half at a time, crushing those. And I'm like typing this up and knowing that like this is the best training for it, and I wasn't really doing that. And we got into it, and I had to get dragged along a little bit, and but it was an awesome challenge.
And I think
something different.
Yes,
it wasn't competitive at all.
Right.
It was just a really cool challenge.
But it helps you grow, and it's something really neat. And I think what I really feel like I'm trying to say is to not maybe take yourself so seriously and label yourself as like either a CrossFit athlete or a power lifter or a runner. Be all those things. And then maybe test your fitness with a hike or something different, or like swimming, or you're into snorkeling now, like just something that it doesn't need to, you don't always need like a ton of outside recognition for it to just know that it feels good to feel healthy and feel alive, and that you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah, snorkeling's something that in like 2 weeks that I'm gonna get to do, and I eventually want to get like scuba certified. I think when we go on one of those vacations, that's gonna be fun.
I might
get a
let you do that.
GoPro and but it's something like
That
I'm just into that. Like I've gotten into snorkeling on all the trips that we do lately, and like it's just a whole different world under the water there, and I feel like when scuba diving is like really taking it to that next level, and you can stay under the water for a long time and really get down there, and I want to learn how to do that and maybe get a GoPro and shoot some videos, and just for me, just as a fun thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think, it is important to take time off competition. It's important to put yourself out there. All the phases of all of this are important. And if you ignore one phase, like everybody wants a hack now. If you ignore one phase, your body's going to hold you back. And your body might hold you back with mind stuff too. You might start to get insomnia at night. You might not, then your body will start to ache, and you might just blame sleep, but your whole body's trying to talk to you like, hey, we're trying to push through something that we shouldn't be right now. So how about you just listen to it,
Yeah. Well, I think we can talk more. Like, I want to try and experiment with how the power hour and how these next few things go. I mean, we've got a lot coming up where what is cool is we do set up a lot of things throughout the year, and we want to share that with you guys. And what I think what we're just trying to do is find this lifestyle where we are flowing, and we're going to do some power hour, and then we have summer shred coming up. I think I'm going to get back into some boxing this summer. And then, after that, later on, try and do a little better in the open than I did this year. I'd like to try and put my game back together and do that, but keep working on these challenges and trying to maintain that flow and find that healthy level. And I think for most of us, it is the low hanging fruit. I'll talk about that as where most of the benefit is. It's getting to this intermediate level. If you can do 20 kipping pull-ups, that's going to feel in your body and mind really good. If you go from 5 to 20 or none to 20, then going, 30 to 70. So if we can accomplish these low-hanging fruit goals and keep moving to these one after another, it can keep us really engaged and feeling good over time. Unless you find a competitive sport that you want to like completely dive into. But if you're a wellness athlete and you want to just age and grow and maintain flow, keep finding that intermediate level on different activities, working towards it, and then move to the next one that you can find that engages you. And challenge that artistic part of your brain to learn those new skills, and keep working there. But we'll catch you next week, and then after that, I think we'll have a week off. So, All right, we'll see you guys next time.